storytelling. You've got to raise capital, storytelling. I almost, even like negotiating with suppliers, with some of our companies, is the reason why we won, the reason why the match business that we own is so successful, and it's now probably the biggest match business, definitely in Europe, and maybe even getting into the world, is because of the story they told to the supply chain in Japan. So I think the single most underappreciated skill one can acquire is the ability and knowing the art of great stories. And actually, when I reflect on the business I was talking about earlier on, my social media business, which put me here when we had 500 people around the world and I was running the New York office by the time I resigned, what I often tell people is that at no point did we have a sales team. At no point did we have an outbound sales team. How is it possible that our clients are Uber across the United States and Coca-Cola across Europe and Samsung and Amazon and you name the brands, but we never did outbound sales? We only had a team of people in the office that would deal with the inbound inquiries. What was it causing the world to come to us? And in life, you can be a door-to-door salesperson, which I don't like that approach, or you can be a magnet and a peacock. And the magnets and peacocks are those that are able to tell stories both in real life and on the internet. And the reason why we never had an outbound sales team was because I spent, in 2019, 15 weeks a year traveling around the world on stages like this, telling stories. Not doing Q&As. I'd walk up on stage like this, I'd walk up on stage, group full of people, and this is exactly what would happen in the next 30 seconds. I'd walk up on stage, all around the world, and I'd stop, and I'd let the silence sit, because there's something about silence that draws attention to you, because people get very uncomfortable with it. This is exactly why you were expelled from school. You are incapable of doing things you don't believe in, and you always think you can find a better way. So don't call me, and don't call any of your family until you go back to university. And with that, my mum hung up the phone. And I'm on stage pitching a social media business back then, and that's how I would open up. And I'd go through this story of my life, and through the story of my life, you'd eventually figure out that we've run this social media company, and these crazy things we've done, where we've made a fake football player that doesn't even exist trend #1 on Twitter, which was an anagram of the event I was speaking at right now. We went to Disney, and I said at the start of my presentation, by the end of this presentation, a word you give me is going to be the #1 trending topic on Twitter in the UK. And they'd shout out a word, I'd text my team, and then at 45 minutes at the end of my presentation, they looked on their phones and it was the #1 trending topic. Now there's many ways to sell, but the most effective way to sell is by focusing on the amygdala, which is the emotional part of the brain. And this is why great stories, they don't start with, hi, my name's Stephen and I'm here from Social Chain and I want to tell you about my company. People gone. They start with once upon a time. And they take you on a journey, and through the journey you learn something. So, and even when I speak on stage now, when I'm asked questions, what I tend to do is I don't tend to give answers, I try and give stories. And so people take the piss out of me because you'll ask me about, like, what's the time? And I'll tell you about some spy story from Russia. And then through that you'll learn what the time is. But it's a huge variance. And if you can translate that exact thinking to the internet, which is part of the reason why, even with Mr. Beast, he's the biggest creator in the world, a good friend of mine, and he doesn't start his videos with an introduction. He doesn't start a video saying, hi, I'm Mr. Beast, welcome back to... No. He starts with a hook. Second one of his videos is, I've put 100 people in that circle, and the last one to leave wins $100,000. Immediate hook, curiosity gap, a promise he's made you. And then you're hooked. And then you need the answer to the question, and he takes you on. And even in mine, if you think about what I said about my mum disowning me, I created a massive curiosity gap in your head. Immediately you go, what? What? Don't call me till you go back to university. Don't call the rest of the family. What the hell? What happened here? I need to find out what happened here. It's almost impossible to not want to know what happened there. And then I've got your attention, and I can pass you from one promise to the next promise to the next promise until we're at the end. And so I would say it's storytelling, because it just permeates through everything. And right now I'm trying to hire one of the world's best CEOs. When I say world's best CEOs, I mean the world's best CEOs to join one of my companies. And I can't pay them the same as they're currently getting at TikTok. But I know that that's not what influences people. I know people are influenced, as many spies have talked about and interviewed, by really great stories.